Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that is to do a video and kind of have a discussion on what is normal or not. Male or female, if you're in a big city, just that hustle and bustle and just everybody kind of in their own world, walking around in their cell phone, texting or taking selfies. It just kind of feels like everybody is sort of out for themselves, just feeling like it's a dog eat dog world. And, really what is normal for healthy members of society? I think that's a great viewer question because it really begs to question what is the normal. And, where can you find healthy, functional relationships that don't require a lot of compromising of your self-esteem or really inequality? Such as you see in a relationship with a narcissist or a psychopath, someone who you really feel that, you're not getting the full story from them, the full deal. And it creates a sort of instability and really an inequality with the people who they choose to relate to. So when we talk about the narcissist or the psychopath, the people who are very self-absorbed, self-centered, all about me, 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 and they just sort of treat everybody as if, you're just there to get and serve them. And so it's a real feeling of victimization when you don't feel that you're in a relationship or even have the cultural opportunity to meet others where you can have a functional relationship. And the key is functional, i.e. it works, i.e. One isn't too needy of the other, trying to claw and scratch and, basically assault you with a lot of criticism or a lot of, ridicule, such as you might see with a sarcastic narcissist or a psychopath who just basically upends a relationship and can leave without even a notice and leaving you shocked. The normal really has to be set by a degree of consistency for you. So when you understand, or if you don't feel that you're an energetic match to a specific walk of life or a lifestyle or a specific group, that is okay. It does call, into the degree of culture. And the idea that the narcissist will seek to surround themselves with others who can satisfy their needs. In other words, what do you have? In other words, you might always feel sort of exhausted after the relationship. Feel that it's all about them and that you're minimized, made smaller, or unequal in stature or status or viewpoint or value, all those things. So there's this, it creates an instability and then a dysfunction because of that knowledge that something is not right here, something is awry. So if you then, in sort of your evaluation of things, you find that there are a specific type of group or what they do with their free time or their interests or how they communicate, their sense of humor, their music, their TV shows, everything. If you're finding that you feel everybody is just sort of on track, it's because, oftentimes with the devices, it narrows people's focus. So they're just not open, and so if you're feeling that there aren't a lot of open people, approachable, someone who can just give you, a few moments of their time to learn or be interested about you. So, be careful that you're looking at, and, the media will also direct, and how things are interpreted. But then if you don't find that you're satisfied with a specific walk of life, even though it might be the popular thing to do or whatever, that is okay. Don't worry about it. You're still part of the fabric of your society. Period. End of story. You are part of society and the fabric of, where you are. That's what it is. So you have to realize you have just as, much a right in the world, and to surround yourself with others who you feel are supportive and genuine and real. And so you might need to find out where that is for you. You might not find it, just walking into, a club, or wherever, you might be going to meet people. You might want to find a different setting where there's values talked about, some sort of content first, some sort of, something that's meaningful to you. And it doesn't even have to be like a big learning deal where, but you can find different settings that are supportive in nature, and then where you can begin to find people to connect with. In other words, evaluate where you're focusing your attention right now. And if you're trying to meet people or find a functional relationship, and then that setting is not working for you, and then it's created a mindset, just sort of, maybe a sort of bias that, I can't find anybody or find people who are caring. So if you're sort of giving up too early, perhaps check yourself out. Am I giving up too early? Is this really the case? Can I challenge that statement for myself? And you can. There are plenty of good people, real people, people of caring and consideration. I mean, just look at people who work and are active for a cause. I mean, they have something of value that their humanity is calling them forth to represent. And it's very interesting, the parallel that we see going on right now in our society and all that we talk about, not feeling heard, not feeling seen, not feeling represented, feeling, inferior to some, so there's a lot of mirroring right now, I think, especially for people who have been through relationships, either one-on-one or in their family or workplace or school or community, wherever it is you've encountered these, there's a real parallel. So you're not making yourself, you're not making things up. You're not crying wolf. You have legitimate feelings and desires, and what you're doing is going through a reevaluation of where you really value your experience. So if you're having a shift, that's okay. It's okay because that means it's still in the creation time. It's still in the blueprint stage. If you're saying, this is how I feel, that, I won't be able to meet anybody here. If you feel that, then you're not going to be open to, the person who could be a good match for you, a good girlfriend, a good friend, a confidant, someone who you look up to or can be pals with, So realize, are you cutting yourself off? And if the degree, then to what degree do I have a role in my unhappiness right now? To what degree do I have a role in my unhappiness right now? That will be an empowering statement because it'll help you to circle back to the I am and realize that you can look within and need to look within and find some solutions. And, you don't have to go it alone, and evaluate, give yourself kind of a list then of what a functional relationship would look, feel, and sound like, look like. So when it comes up, which it will, you literally have the ability to create and manifest in your future opportunities that meet your goals and objectives. So you might need to become clear with yourself. What is functional for me? What does happiness look like for me? What does it feel like? What is the interplay between us? Are we spontaneous? Do we take it slow? Are we going full throttle right away? Are we, dating casually? Is it super serious? Where do we connect on? So you have to become aware of what are some, new sort of qualities of what is the making for you of a functional relationship. In other words, it's energizing, not exhausting. It's filled with laughter, not with criticism. It's filled with a degree of seriousness and content rather than the superficial. So little things like that. Once you come to terms with your list, you need to know that that's kind of like, you're putting in an order, you're kind of putting in a request. It's like if you're at a restaurant and you're looking at a menu of things and you go, yeah, I want that for the appetizer and I want this for my main course. And then dessert, we'll talk about that, but it would be really great and that would be a great, roundabout meal, So you have to get an idea of what this is and bring things down to size, perspective, and be careful of, these statements that I feel that all, if you then are finding that if you've had, a lot of exposure to people who are of this way. And so you're kind of finding that you're attractive or a good fit with someone who is narcissistic or psychopathic. You need to own that feeling and say, because of my past, okay, which was then, this is now, we're talking about different periods of in time and space. You know, that was then, this is now. We're talking about a completely different day, situation, environment. So you have to be willing to look at the radical raw potential of the present, literally and figuratively. I mean, it's just an objective fact. Because so many people who are overwhelmed after being in traumatizing relationships with people who are hyper controlling, hyper critical, and hyper pathological lying and deception, that it just it can render you without a center and a focus and just feeling exhausted or depleted, and feeling that this is then going to become the norm. The norm is what is consistent for you, okay? And that has to be a normal for you, and then you have to create the normal. In other words, if what was normal with the psychopath, say, okay, and what was my, your truth is created through ages 0 through 7. So that's why you might find it very difficult, because to meet a functional person would be a contradiction to your identity, or your identity with failure or being walked on or abused. So you might not then feel like you're an energetic match for a successful functional relationship. So you really have to dive in and expose and create that also. And we'll do more videos on this topic because it's very important to understand the depth where this reacts, or how this plays. And the normal, you really, and not just you, not just anyone who has encountered a difficult toxic relationship with people who have, perhaps, they don't have the emotional intelligence or empathy, they were lacking a skill set in either how they raised you, or your school or your community. I mean, there was, certain skill sets perhaps that you didn't experience, either in your teachers or your parents or your siblings, or just, these things create a truth. And so if you feel that when it's a direct, so what you have to understand is that your truth is created really through 0 through 7. And so if something does not align with your truth, then it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like an energetic match. So if your truth, 0 through 7 was based on abuse or boundary violation, or not caring, not nurturing, not warm and supportive, but intimidating, filled with fear, anxiety, and then it had that, anxious reaction to you of emotional pain and fear, and sort of becomes a chronic trauma bond, then you have to realize that you need to re-educate yourself on the truth for you. Because you need to correct that within yourself, which you can do. I mean, people have done it. You can do this. Is to understand that you will need to understand your sensitivity and what is the quote-unquote truth for you, that normal, and then be willing to radically revise it and take radical action to reevaluate that. Especially if your truth was born out of falseness or fear or trepidation or unmet needs. So if your truth was, I live in fear and my needs are not met and I'm not represented, then new relationships aren't going to feel like the real thing. It's going to challenge your truth. So you have to be willing to challenge your truth for the truth and reevaluate in the present. And this is my present. This is where I am now. All those negative influences are removed from my life in the very present moment. Unless the abuser is sitting right there across the table from you, living in your house, still in your tight relationship, then you need to go no contact so you can think for yourself and get perspective and create the new normal for you. The new normal will be created by repetition and experience, creating a routine that is centered around what is important to you, including the recovery date, the recovery gift, the recovery pages in the morning. All these things will create a normalcy for you and help to pave a path of what is a healthy normal for you. And with repetition and experience, you'll be able to create some degree of structure to this sort of, amalgam or sort of undefined potential for your future. So you need to create that, whether it's every Wednesday I go bowling and then every Friday I have a book club. Create some new normalcy that you have to plug in. You have to create it for yourself, especially for a lot of people. The normal has been removed. What used to be normal, a normal date, two people, trying to, flirt. Now it's, no, it's all through your devices. So the normal has been challenged. If you don't think your relationship should be the way your past has been, then you should be like, amen, man. I've just defined my goal for the future. And you should be very glad and, have some gratitude for yourself that you have the ability to recognize that now, because a lot of people they don't understand what they need to change about themselves to attract better opportunities. And they want to, point the finger, but you have to start pointing the finger to right here, you. Even though it might not, but it's not my fault. Well, of course, all these things were not your fault, but you are here, you are now, and your future is ahead of you. And let's fall in love with your future and the potential so that things can come around and you can, have that sort of good life, employment, income, friends, rest, shelter, travel, interests, entertainment, whatever it is for the makings of your contentment. And so you want to look within rather than looking without all the time. That's a bad habit, and a lot of people make themselves uncomfortable. It was so funny, and this is just this is so funny, but I was watching something on Netflix, and, there was this female who was trying to fit in with the scene, and it was like a Hollywood, California, where everybody is all about, trying to be this gorgeous or this handsome or this rich, and that whole, Hollywood scene. And she was in this very tight dress, and, to appear that that's what's normal, like you have to be real glamorous. And then in the picture, she was trying to sit down to the table where she was meeting her guests for dinner. She literally could not sit down. She was like trying to shimmy and, what do you call it when you were doing that, trying to lean over backwards underneath that one stick, what do you call it when, remember, back in the day with kids, there would be a bar and then you'd have to walk and then bend back so you could not tip. She could not sit. Her dress was so tight, and that might be normal for the people in that restaurant, that community, that whole, glamour Hollywood day party where they're, dressing up in stilettos at 10 a.m. to go to the, the party down the street, and it's just that type of lifestyle. So you have to realize that there are certain areas that might not fit you, even though it's, a mass appeal, or, everybody loves the Kardashians or something, and why aren't I like one of them? So you have to realize, what are you aligning yourself with? And be willing to say, no, this is not my value. And I talk about that in a lot of previous videos too, because you have to challenge oftentimes a lot of the characteristics that your society is saying is beautiful. For example, for, someone who is white or Caucasian to have a suntan, when you go on vacation and then you've got that rosy glow, and so a lot of people will then, go out and get sun damage, sun cancer, and wrinkle their skin because of a societal value of normal, or attractive. So you have to realize that oftentimes is not healthy, for those people who are going into tanning beds and, trying to lay out and put baby oil all over their skin and fry or do whatever, not healthy, and so, but that the cause was, based on whatever, or that value or the normal. So you have to evaluate and see what that is for you, and then where you find yourself. So it's a process of self-discovery. So this is, a good thing, and you will get perspective and distance. And I thought this was going to be a short video, where I wanted to make this a little bit shorter. But you have to create the normal for you, and that is okay. But so be willing to understand what this is like for you. So you might not like what is normal. The drinking or the smoking, where people socialize and it's the cool thing. So it's okay to say, you know what, even though all those over there, that's not me, and that's okay. And then slowly but surely, I want you to find images, settings, situations, sentiments, feelings, images, words that do resonate with you for the healthy and then the functional. Smooth, easy, fun, whatever it is, become aware of what your qualifiers are and be willing to understand and know those and challenge these and be in touch with them. And so that you'll become open-minded to drawing those to you, but you have to know what they are, and then be willing to become open rather than closed off, especially with the mindset of where you're directing. Because if you're into that whole narcissistic value point, then you might have a lot of habits that you need to check out and reevaluate, that the narcissist might have taught you, the psychopath might have taught you. In other words, you have to be braggadocious. You have to be able, whatever it is that they set their expectations for you, you have to be able to challenge that. And even if they were the authority, you can challenge that authority, because the authority is within you. The world is a big picture. Don't give up your dream. It's a big world. Don't allow your world to be made so small by someone who has victimized you. Be strong. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. I hope that these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, please donate, and please create a new normal for yourself that feels good, that is consistent, and that you can create, a normalcy for you in your own original, unique routine. This is freedom. This is empowerment. This is where you will grow in love, strength, and prosperity. You've got this. Keep it going and stay the course.